Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking exactly how global sustainability standards logically categorize our massive, highly complex global economy. And we are starting right at the top. We're looking at the Sustainable Industry Classification System, or SICS, and zooming in specifically on how the oil and gas refining and marketing industry gets categorized under the broader Extractives and Minerals Processing Sector. It's a pretty incredible journey from these big, macro-level global frameworks all the way down to the granular metrics that actually define an industry.
All right, let's jump right in and establish our baseline. The SASB standards are now officially under the stewardship of the International Sustainability Standards Board, or the ISSB. Now, this shift happened in August 2022, and it is monumental. It represents a massive step toward creating a unified global language for investors and for anyone preparing sustainability disclosures. It means these standards aren't just some niche reporting tool anymore. They are literally the bedrock of global financial disclosure. And you can see here just how fast this whole framework is evolving to meet global demands. The ISSB didn't just adopt the standards and let them collect dust. By June 2023, they had already amended the climate-related topics. By December 2023, they updated the non-climate topics for better international applicability. And the absolute key takeaway for us? The newest version of this industry standard takes full effect for annual periods beginning on or after January 1, 2025. Now, before we drill down into this specific industry, we really have to ask a fundamental question. How do you logically compare a nimble, fast-paced tech startup to a heavy industrial polluter? Right? You can't just rely on traditional financial groupings for that. You use SICS. This classification system brilliantly groups companies based on their shared sustainability-related risks and opportunities. So it groups entities that face similar resource constraints, similar regulatory pressures, and similar social impacts. To see exactly how this works in practice, we're going to use a macro to micro funnel today. We'll quickly run through the sustainability map, the extractive sector, defining EMRM, the business model, and finally those key metrics. Let's start with Section 1, the sustainability map, zooming in. It's really a three-step journey. We start at Step 1 with the entire global framework, all 77 industry-specific standards. From there, Step 2 zooms us into a specific grouping called the Extractives and Minerals Processing Sector. And finally, Step 3 lands us right on our target industry, officially coded as EMRM, which stands for Oil and Gas, Refining and Marketing. Moving right along to Section 2, Extractives and Minerals at the macro level. So what actually defines this sector? Well, as the standard lays out, it's all about massive scale. We're talking extreme temperatures, intense pressures, and a truly huge physical footprint. Because these industries physically process heavy resources, they inherently trigger intense environmental and social impacts. And that naturally creates a lot of tension with local communities and the environment, which is exactly why structured, rigorous sustainability reporting is absolutely vital here. That brings us to Section 3, defining EMRM, oil and gas refining and marketing. To really grasp what ENRM is, you kind of have to know what it isn't. ENRM represents strictly the downstream end of the oil and gas value chain. It's the companies refining petroleum products, marketing oil and gas, and actually operating the gas stations. Totally separate industry codes exist for upstream activities, like exploration and production, or EMEP, and midstream pipelines, which are coded as EMMD. ENRM is all about those final stages before the product hits the consumer. Next up is Section 4, the business model, focusing on pure play operations. Understanding the boundaries of this business model is absolutely crucial if you want accurate reporting. The standard explicitly states that these metrics are designed for pure play refining and marketing entities. Why does that matter? Well, think about a giant integrated oil company that does everything from drilling the crude out of the ground to selling gas at your local corner store. They can't just use this one standard. They actually have to apply multiple SICS standards across their various operations to give a true, accurate picture of their total sustainability risks. And finally, Section 5, key metrics, the actual proof of impact. The sheer breadth of what these EMRM companies have to track is honestly staggering. It's a massive web of interconnected responsibilities. They have to measure air quality, specifically calling out refineries located in or near densely populated areas. They have to measure water management, tracking every drop consumed in regions with high baseline water stress. And it even goes beyond the environment into governance, tracking total monetary losses from legal proceedings tied to price fixing or market manipulation right at the pump. When we look at the air quality piece, it's not just a generic pollution metric. No, the standard is incredibly specific. Entities must meticulously track their gross global Scope 1 emissions, covering all 7 Kyoto Protocol greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide and methane. But on top of that, they have to track an alphabet soup of highly localized, dangerous air pollutants: nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, particulate matter, hydrogen sulfide, and volatile organic compounds. Because, as we know, these localized emissions can have severe health consequences for those neighboring communities. And then there's safety. When measuring critical incident risk management and safety culture, they use a very specific baseline number: 200,000. Now, that number represents the total hours that 100 full-time workers would provide if they worked 40 hours a week for 50 weeks a year. It's not just some arbitrary math formula. It's exactly how companies calculate standardized rates for terrifying real-world events known as Tier 1 loss of primary containment. We're talking major explosions, toxic releases, and community evacuations. Now, think about your local gas station for a second. EMRM companies actually have to track the number of underground storage tanks, or USTs, that they manage. And it doesn't stop at just counting the active tanks. The standard requires them to disclose the number of UST releases that require hazardous cleanup, including old legacy releases they are still responsible for, and the percentage of those incidents located in jurisdictions that have financial assurance funds to help pay for the remediation.
But, it's not all fossil fuels and hazardous cleanups. The standard forces these companies to look forward, too. They must disclose their market share in clean fuel blends, specifically advanced biofuels. Within the standard, these are defined as biofuels that have a 50% lower life cycle greenhouse gas emission compared to traditional gasoline. This metric is a real game changer because it reveals whether a company is actively preparing for a greener regulatory future or simply risking irrelevance as the whole market shifts. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to wrap up this explainer. As the market for advanced biofuels really takes off, and as the actual fuel at the pump fundamentally changes, will the EMRM classification have to change right along with it? Or will these traditional oil and gas entities simply become the clean energy distributors of tomorrow? It just goes to show you how incredibly dynamic the sustainability map really is. Thanks so much for joining me today to explore the SICS framework and the refining and marketing industry.